मसाले तो बहुत हैं, पर प्रकृति की गोद से खास चुने मसाले जिनकी ताजगी, खुशबू और स्वाद रहे बरकरार, ऐसे उम्दा मसाले बनाते हैं सिर्फ कैच। कैच का कोई मैच नहीं, 100%।
Let's traverse into the world of stories through a scintillating book reading session with well-known author Tanushree Podar. Tanushree Podar's Teenage Diary of Rani Laxmi Bai is another inspiring blend of history and fiction which narrates the story of a young girl whose valor and bravery remains unforgettable.
Hello and welcome to the Times Literature Festival 2021. I'm Tanushree Podar, and today I'm going to read you an excerpt from my book, The Teenage Diary of Rani Laxmi Bai. Now, as you have guessed, it is about Rani Laxmi Bai, but before that, I would like to introduce myself, give a little more about myself. I'm a writer with 15 books, two of which are meant for the young readers, and this is one of them. I write in various genres: military, historicals, then detective, and also spooky stories. Now, I have been working in the corporate sector for 8 years before I began writing. So that's me in nutshell. And now I'll be reading an excerpt or two from this book, which is actually meant for people who are reading, young readers basically, and also those who are interested in history. Now, this is about Rani Lakshmi Bai, about whose initial years we don't know much. And so this sort of fills the gap between her, battles with the British and her early days, which were in a place called Bithur. And it is set in 1841 because we begin the diary with her as a teenager. So I will read an excerpt which actually speaks about her pending marriage. So there is this Peshwa where they are staying, the Peshwa's palace, where she is known as Manikarnika. During the childhood, she was known as Manikarnika. It is only after her wedding that she was given the name Lakshmi Bai. So this is Manikarnika's 13th year, and the new the Peshwa's guests include very important guests from Jhansi who have come to talk about marriage of the girl. Now I start reading. They were busy discussing the current situation at Jhansi when I reached the hall. It would have been nice to know what they had been discussing, but all conversation ceased the moment they heard the musical tinkle of the anklets around my ankles. Perhaps this is why women were made to wear jewelry, I thought. The jingle of bangles and anklets announced their arrival to everyone. Irritated because of Moshi's insistence on proper behavior, I walked across the hall with a sullen expression on my face. Now we have to visualize this girl who is a tomboy kind of a person. By nature, she is a free bird and given to, adventures and playing around, and totally mischievous kind of a girl. And suddenly she's decked up in sari and jewelry, and that to 9 yards of sari, and she finds it all very restricting, and she has been told to behave in a very formal and very proper behavior is expected from her. Irritated because of Moshe's insistence on proper behavior and the burden of the sari and jewelry, I walked across the hall with a sullen expression on my face. Here comes the brightest star of Bithur, Peshwa Sahab called out. It was he who had indulged and spoilt me. Apart from encouraging me to train in martial arts, riding, and fencing, he made sure that I enjoyed every privilege that was given to Nana and Tantia. His praise for my skills often landed me in the bad books of the two boys. Come and sit next to me, Peshwa Sahab beckoned. Nana is the Peshwa's adopted son, and Tantia is his friend, and he also lives in the palace. And the three of them are very good friends. That was all the encouragement I needed. Forgetting Moshe's instructions, I flounced into the room and beamed at him, keeping my face averted so I didn't catch the warning look on the Moshe's face. I greeted the Peshwa. So, this is Manikarnika? Asked an elderly man with a kind look in his eyes. Yes, Tatya Dishit, this is our Manu, responded Peshwa Sahab proudly as I settled next to him and tried to behave in a ladylike manner. I have heard a lot about your talents, Beti, said Tatya Dikshit. They tell me that you can beat Nana and Tatya in fencing, horse riding, archery, and martial arts. Not just that, Manu can recite our scriptures and epics better than anyone, replied the Peshwa, who never tired of praising me. She's also learned account keeping and can speak a smattering of English and Persian. Peshwa Sahab is a very affectionate man, and I am fortunate to have his blessings. Not many girls my age were able to do the things they would like to do. In fact, most of them are married off by the time they're 8 or 9 years old. Now we must remember this story and she lived in the year 1840s, and that time there were a lot of restrictions imposed on the girls. They were married off very early in their life. So she was one of those who had remained unmarried till her teens. Tatya Dikshit looked at me intently. His piercing eyes under a pair of bushy eyebrows were rather disconcerting. But I stared back without flinching. One of the gentlemen sitting by his side laughed and remarked, It's not often that one meets a young girl who's skilled in fencing and horse riding. We seem to have a female warrior among us. I bristled. The sarcasm in his words provoked me. Girls can do everything if they are given a chance. They can ride, fence, and be good at them too. Why should those skills be reserved for boys? Because girls are delicate. God made them so, laughed the gentleman. The scornful look in his eyes rankled me no end. They are better at cooking and keeping the house. There is that's an area men won't want to venture into, he said. I disagree with that viewpoint. There have been many brave women in our country. I see nothing wrong in girls being trained in warfare, Madhavrao. It was Peshwa Sahab who responded to the gentleman. These are not easy times. In fact, we should start training girls to fend for themselves and fight for the country. The Firangis won't find it easy to rule if our women join the fight. The reply did not seem to go well with the gentleman called Madhavrao. There are enough brave soldiers to fight the Firangis, he retorted, busying himself with the hookah. It was obvious that he didn't like the idea of women warriors. God help this country if we have to depend on women to fight for the motherland. Manikarnika, what are your views about women warriors? Tatya Dikshit wanted to know. I agree with what our respected Peshwa Sahab has said. Women can do everything and they can do it better than men. I replied boldly. Do you also agree that they can fight with the Firangis? Yes, women can fight the Firangis. We can do everything to defend the motherland. The frown on my father's face made me realize that I had raised my voice. That's a very interesting viewpoint, nodded Tatya Dikshit. Supposing you had to fight the Firangis one day, how will you go about it? Although he seemed quite serious, it was difficult to determine if he was trying to make fun of me. I didn't care. It was a subject close to my heart, and the men in the hall had managed to annoy me with their low opinion about women. So I continued to speak. I would train girls and organize an army of women warriors. We would be ready to go to battle an enemy anytime. That's interesting, was all Tatya Dikshit said. My outburst seemed to amuse the men in the gathering. Peshwa Sahab was the only one smiling indulgently, I noticed. It's nice to see such passion for the country and in someone so young, Tatya added after a thought. Didn't I mention Manu is our brightest star? Peshwa Sahab piped up. I didn't miss the gleam of pride in his eyes. The topic of discussion soon changed, and I was dismissed from the room. I found Maushi lingering in the corridor. She had been listening to everything. As soon as I stepped out, she began her sermon. Can't you keep your mouth shut? Do you have to say wrong things all the time? I didn't do anything wrong or I didn't say anything wrong, I retorted. Why doesn't she understand? How could I keep quiet? I'm not like other girls. I'm different. They asked me for my opinion on women warriors, so I shared my views on the subject. There's nothing wrong in being honest about one's opinion. Now, this was about the time when the guests had come from Jhansi to see Rani Laxmi Bai or Manikarnika as she was known. And then she was taken to Jhansi and wedded to a man who was much, much older to her. This is a month after her wedding. Life as a queen is not an easy one. I realized in the very first week of my wedding. It has taken me a while, but I have come to terms with my life as Rani Laxmi Bai. My name, Manikarnika, is now history, with no one other than Baba, Nana, and Tantya addressing me as Manu. There are too many expectations and restrictions on a queen's behavior and movements. None of them are to my liking. I have always been a free bird, but my wings have now been clipped. Sadly, when they were here, even Nana and Tantya could visit me whenever they wanted. For her wedding, Nana, Tantya, and her father had come to Jhansi. In fact, they couldn't enter the women's quarters without permission. That didn't stop them, of course. They visited as frequently as possible and provided me with a lot of information about Rao Sahab and his kingdom. Rao Sahab is the person to whom she is married. He was the ruler of Jhansi. The two of them had already inspected the stables. From them, I heard that Rao Gangadhar had a splendid collection of elephants and horses. The king's favorite elephant is called Siddhabaksh. You won't believe, but the elephant is fitted with a golden howdah, crafted specially by artisans from Benares. I would love to ride on Siddhabaksh one day, said Nana. Not just Rao's favorite elephant, the other elephants and horses are also fitted with special saddles and gorgeous accessories. Tantya piped up. You are a very lucky girl, Manu. I don't see why you think of me as a lucky girl, I complained. I haven't visited the stables nor seen Rao Sahab's collection of horses and elephants. It'll take some time, Nana soothed me. You are a queen, and queens are not expected to wander into stables. Don't I know that? I said bitterly. Queens are not expected to do a lot of things. I would rather live the uncomplicated life of Manu. Being a Rani doesn't suit my temperament. What nonsense! Nana sounded shocked at my words. You have such luxuries and so many people at your command. I would give my right hand to be in your place. Would you? I retorted. Just imagine being confined inside the women's quarters with none of the freedom that I had before. They couldn't understand how I felt, nor could Baba. Things will change gradually, he consoled. It takes time. Once Rao Sahab knows you better, he'll allow you more freedom. You will be able to ride and explore the kingdom. I don't think so, I grumbled. I found Rao Sahab crusty and indecipherable. From good humored to irritable, his mood would change without warning. He could be kind as well as cruel, I realized. His behavior was intimidating, and I didn't know what he expected from me. So this was her early, brush with royalty. She had never been a queen. She was a poor Brahmin's daughter. Her father had been taken by Peshwa as a, courtier, and Peshwa was very kind to them. So he had actually allowed Manu to learn all the things and allowed her to sit with Nana and Tantia when the tutors came to teach the two boys. So this, in nutshell, I read about the Rani Laxmi Bai. And if you want to know more, of course, you'll have to read the whole book because it also talks about her battles with the Firangis. Firangis were the British who ruled India at the time of Manikarnika. So she had fought her battles with them, as you are aware. Everyone knows about the valiant queen. She was one of her bravest women and warriors. And we all remember her sacrifices to have freedom and get us free, freedom from the British. I hope you read the book and also give me feedback about whether you liked it or not. With that, I say goodbye to you. Have a great day. Thank you.
Thank you for watching today's sessions. Please join us on coming Saturday now between 5 to 7 p.m. to watch our upcoming 3 sessions. We will start with a session on Jeffrey Archer, the master and his art, with the master storyteller in conversation with author Ravi Subramanian. Up next will be a session on Kabir, a fakir way ahead of his times with authors Purushottam Agarwal and Devdutt Patnaik. The last session of the day will be with Beth Rickles, the author of Kissing Booth. In conversation with her will be author Kiran Manral. Also, do not forget to talk about us on our social media handles and do use the hashtag TimesLitFest.